are those of the host, guests, and callers who are responsible for their content and do not reflect the opinions of In Touch Radio or its staff.
Has a nice stable of co-hosts in its basket that we roll in and out of here. The soon-to-be Dr. Tony Seabrook, working on his PhD.
Doctor.
Soon-to-be Dr. P. The preeminent historian and political analyst and all things judiciary, Pete Edwards. And then myself, and then to balance things off, the boss, DJ CEO, jumps in the seat when he thinks I'm going to run it completely off the rails. So this morning I have with me DJ C. They're going to make sure I don't get myself in trouble. Listen, I had mentioned to you, there are a couple of things. Let me just see if I can open it. First of all, I want to say congratulations to our fraternity brothers at the Tampa Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi. We are celebrating 94 years in this community. 94 years in this community. The Tampa Alumni Chapter was founded June 11th, 1928.
That's fantastic.
In 6 years, we will be in this. And I like to say in this community. Because that, exactly.
Wow.
And the brothers are today, they're over at the frat house. So if you're Kappa, you're up, man. I saw Bianco Berry, one of the board members, put out, he was talking about breakfast. So somebody's bringing some victuals to the house. So if you're up and about, if you're a Kappa, go swing by the frat house this morning.
I'm stopping.
Brothers are over there. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Now, you got to be careful around Kappas. We may party hard, but we work hard. So be careful you stumble up in there, because our pole mark will definitely
put you to work.
Carlos Ivory III. And Daryl, we just have some great leadership. And I'm not going to bore everybody with going over all the things the fraternity does in the community. But I'm going to say this. There are few places where black men feel complete and total dominion over their existence. There are few places.
Absolutely.
One of those places is at the frat house.
You're absolutely
One of
right.
those places. It's like the rest of the world ceases at the frat house, because at the frat, first of all, we own it, no mortgage, free and clear hours. We pay for it. We take care of everything that's essential, and it's our retreat.
Yes, it is.
And I want to commend the Silhouettes and Sweethearts for allowing us to have that retreat, because you need some place to go.
Yeah.
Where I would say this, besides the toilet, where you feel like you're in complete control.
No doubt.
One of the most powerful places in the house is in the toilet.
Yes.
First of all, nobody else don't want to be in there with you, and you're in charge of what's going on in there. But I would say that at the frat house, so we've been part of this community for 94 years.
Yeah.
Next summer, Daryl, Kappas Worldwide will convene on Tampa as we celebrate our 95th year for the conclave.
Yes.
It will be the first in-person conclave since COVID hit. And we're going to knock the roof off Tampa. Now, I know the AK's coming through. I know the Delta's coming. Yeah, you Qs. Go ahead and have your picnic. Y'all have a look at it. But we're going to have a real conclave. We're going to set this thing off when the brothers roll in town next year. And I will say this. Y'all are all welcome to come out.
All welcome.
And participate. I've been looking at the list of activities. For example, recently we saw the Deltas had their boat parade to celebrate their anniversary, where they covered up the Hillsborough River. It was probably one of the darkest days on the river, because you would have thought that many black folks own boats.
Absolutely.
But the brothers and sisters came
well
out.
represented out there.
Yeah, absolutely. All the organizations, and we expect that to be next year. So I just want to take a minute, and I want to say this. I am sitting next to somebody who is a legendary historical person in the annals of Kappa.
Well,
because there's only one man That has is it 5 or 6?
It's 6 sons.
Sister, go ahead, Doc. Tell us the history of your family.
Theodore Roosevelt Johnson,
ahead,
Sr. You know, he bore 7 children, 6 boys, 1 girl, and he became a member of Kappa Alpha Psi in 1942, but don't stop me to line.
That's okay.
But he bore 6 sons, and I was the last one to cross those burning sands. And I just want to thank my father for pushing his young men into grown men into the Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, and we are just so proud to give him the legacy that he so richly deserves in the annals of Kappa Alpha Psi.
He has the most Kappa sons.
The most Kappa sons.
That's all right there, man. So I'm sitting next to Kappa history right here at Intex News Studios Worldwide this morning. So, okay, so I want to get that off my chest. We got, that's off my chest. All right, DJ, hanging there with me. Now, the next thing was, I want to apologize. We have some very loyal listeners. And I know we've had some technical difficulties in the last couple of months with our phone system and upgrades and just trying to get things to the next level. So we appreciate everybody tolerating the inability to call in and correct me when you think I'm wrong, but I'm really still right. But I appreciate you all listening in. You know. And so what a lot of our callers have done, DJ CEO, and I've not done a good job, is they've converted to monitoring me and trying to instruct me on my errors by Facebook.
Well, that's good. That's good. The truth, but the truth of the matter is that the reason the phones don't work is that because Clint has unplugged it, and so that he can just continue to talk because he loves to talk.
So with that in mind, I had a caller last week put a message in about critical race theory.
Okay.
And it bothered me all week because critical race theory and our new I want to call it open and broad celebration of Juneteenth. Juneteenth has been celebrated since June 19th, 1865, when General Granger landed in Galveston, right?
Yes, it was.
But since he walked on the shore, looked around and went, "What are all these people doing still slaves?"
Right.
I got something I want to read to y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And he read the Emancipation Proclamation, thereby bringing an end to formal slavery. And but I didn't get to that question. It bothered me all week, Darryl.
Well, you know, oddly enough, you said it happened in Texas, and it did. But Juneteenth was primarily a Texas holiday, not holiday, but celebration. So over a number of years, it began to expand, and actually, Buffalo, New York, picked it up, and it spread to the northern region, to the New York region.
So and one of the other dynamics because Texas was a large slave state. It got in the game late.
Yeah,
they were trying to catch up, so they were shipping slaves in left and right. So when slavery ended, a lot of those black folks drifted through the Midwest, and wherever they went, they kind of took that celebration
with them. Yes,
and then governments in Texas actually, it was a great time to celebrate and have a good time. So, but the critical race theory part is interesting to me, and she brought that up, and so I said, I promise, I said next week I will open the show talking a little bit about critical race theory. For those of y'all who've not been paying attention, critical race theory is an academic philosophy that tries to analyze and account for how slavery and the vestiges of slavery, the things that require slavery, have manifested itself and impacted society at large continuously. And how that plays out is, one, the blame for, first of all, the exploitation as an economic entity during slavery.
Okay.
So then you have, after that, the blame game. See, the North, after slavery was over, they blamed the slaves for the war and all the suffering. Okay. The South wanted to subjugate them, but the North, they weren't happy either, because they feel like they were forced into a fight because we were trying to free slaves. When if you go look at the actual...
Now you say we. Who is we? Who is we? You said we are tried to... Who is we?
I use we as the greater American populace. And I'm not going to even call it black or white. I'll say the greater American populace. Going back and looking at the founding issues at the time of the Civil War, they dealt with labor and industrialization. The North is starting to industrialize. It needs less labor, a different kind of labor. It can get by off immigrant labor. The South is agricultural based, still growing a lot of cotton, and that takes a lot of labor, of hard labor that you just have above subsistence, that you don't let thrive. And so that economic imbalance was starting to manifest itself, and slowly the South started feeling like, hey, listen, you're subjugating us because you just have more money at your disposal. And then you had international interference.
Right.
You've got Spain, France, and other countries, even England a little bit, telling the South, you know what, you guys were your own country, you know, you could do your own thing. And matter of fact, you get the war started and get it going good, you know, like we did when you all broke off with Britain, we might come even help you, you know, do your own thing. You could join it with Mexico, and you could become a whole different country on your own and economically compete against those in the North. So that was an undercurrent. And so the British, during the American Revolution, offered slaves freedom if they revolted. In fact, during the Revolution, you had a number of slaves fighting for the British because they've been promised their freedom.
The British offered slaves freedom.
Revolution.
Okay.
In the Revolution.
Here in the U.S.
Here in the U.S.
How did they notify the slaves? You know, hey, look, if y'all revolt, we're going to help you.
Well, the United Kingdom, Britain, had already ended its own slavery.
Okay.
And it was already talking about ending slavery in the colonies.
Oh.
There was already discussion, hey, we don't think this is a long-term thing that we want to be involved in. And so that also is alleged to be an impetus for the revolution. I apologize, I'm jumping wars. But I'm back to the Civil War now because I'm going to bring this all forward to critical race theory.
All right, let's bring it forward.
So in the Revolution, the British, to destabilize the colony, said, hey, if you fight for the British, you'll be free. And in fact, at the end of the war, the British upheld that and created something called the Book of Lists, which became a whole movie and show about how they went and exported slaves who had helped fight for the British to Canada. Because they promised them freedom.
Right. That's
one part. So when we get to the Civil War, the war is kind of a stalemate because, you know, General Lee is a bad dude. General Lee was an incredible field general. Graduated first in his class at West Point, was just a phenomenal general, had led a lot of the Indian Wars. He was a bad dude. And in fact, I've got a little bit of time. Abraham Lincoln, before the war starts, he goes down to Virginia and meets with General Lee. Says, General Lee, I'm going to need you to lead my army of the United States if war breaks out. And Lee said at the time, he said, listen, I'm a Virginian, which was very common at the time. People were Carolinas, Jayhawkers.
Right.
You were with your states more than you were with the United States of America. And he said, listen, whichever way Virginia goes is the way I'm going to go. So if Virginia goes to the United States, then I'm in. If Virginia does not and succeeds, but I'm a Virginia, I'm not fighting against Virginians. So that was probably the bigger issue in what direction the country would go. So Abraham Lincoln, he doesn't actually free the slaves to start the war. He starts to free the slaves to win the war. We're gonna come back to that after this break.
Do you see what I mean when I say that Clint unplugged the phone? Because had the phone rang, it would have stopped his flow. You feel me?
Listen, I'm gonna treat you like Pete going to the break. Hey, Bezel is giving me the break, so we're gonna take this break. We're gonna come back and we're gonna roll this into the critical race theory and have some comments by DJ CEO.
Yeah.
It's In-Text News Radio, reality radio, where everybody, even me, can be a star.
In Rebel, yo, noob.
So believe we 100 down 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay, call Ricky, he coming. He taking kids state of Florida, grab a pen of sundown. 184-361 Rick. That's 184-361-425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, plus your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 184-361 Rick. Call Ricky, ask Ricky. Is a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and getting you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361 Rick. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
God bless each and every one of you, and have a happy 4th of July. This is Pastor Harold Ford. Join us this weekend for the House of Gospel Music. Cherry Johnson tells us about the freaks who slap the babies behind. Evangelist Dorothy Norwood stops by to tell us a real story. And all of your gospel favorites back to back on the House of Gospel Music. Gospel Hallelujah, heard right here on this great radio station.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here-for-you.
We're back.
All right, let's check this. I'm moving the temperature. Let's see. What we got, DJ Governor? Tell me when I'm on the right spot with the camera. I want to show something. You got that? I know it's early, y'all, but if you're watching on YouTube,
You're supposed to expand that. You didn't expand that. Yeah.
You got
Tap it. Yeah, there we go. Nice. What's
look,
up?
if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, I am showing you a nice little a dinner, some ribs, because one of our listeners heard an advertisement on this station and was driving through West Virginia and went by them two brothers in the grill. And got some barbecue. That's Carl, the trucker, allegedly. But he was riding through West Virginia, and he stopped by because he heard the advertisement on this station.
Right.
And now he said that's his second stop that he's made up there. But I just wanted to let folks know.
So he must enjoy the barbecue. He's going back again.
Oh yeah, baby, he's an eater, man. He's an eater, man.
Good.
Yeah. So
right,
but anyway, so I was talking about so we were at the moment talking about how we get to Juneteenth is what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
Because that changes how you appreciate it, because the war starts, the Civil War in 1861. The Emancipation Proclamation is not issued to 1863.
Correct.
And the reason it's not issued because the war doesn't start over slavery. But Lincoln realizes to win the war, he must end slavery to save the Union. So the war, people think it's kind of reversed. So we were the impetus for what would win the war, because
the war. What started the war?
The war started because of the economic imbalance between the North and the South. That really was it. I'm just gonna say it like it is. The South had a bunch of country bumpkin, ignorant buttholes. Didn't realize the world was changing and they needed to get it going. They needed to educate themselves. They needed to improvise, implement new ideas. They were too busy exerting all their energy and effort subjugating slaves.
Correct.
There was no public education.
Right.
So your populace was not very knowledgeable. There was no ability for poor people to advance themselves because of the massive land holdings of the plantations. So really, it was very feudalistic, almost like you had in you go back in English days or wherever it was.
Serfdom.
Yeah, it was very, that is the word, serfdom, a perfect word. So that really is what was because poor people in the South really weren't thinking about fighting. Because you think about it, they were fighting to preserve a system.
Yeah, they were good. They were on their front porches just fanning flies.
So let's go back to Abraham Lincoln and the Emancipation Proclamation, how we get to Juneteenth.
Okay.
So he realizes we can't win this war unless we destabilize the South. And the easiest way to do that is I will grant freedom to all the slaves in the states where there is slavery and you are in rebellion against the United States. And that's why there were several states, I know Maryland is one and another state, that the Emancipation Proclamation did not apply to. They still had slaves. But the Emancipation Proclamation only applied in the states where you were in rebellion against the United States. Fast forward, General Granger comes to Galveston, issued the proclamation, and the folks out west in Texas start celebrating Juneteenth. Now, come fast forward, we now have made Juneteenth a national holiday. I'll tell you something, Daryl. White folks don't like talking about slavery. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It's not their finest hour. It is not. And whenever we bring up race, they're reminded of that. But their even worst hour of hypocrisy and a lack of moral compass was after slavery, was Jim Crow.
Jim Crow.
That's when you were lying to us and your. See, in slavery, we were honest. You're the slave, I'm the owner. Okay, everybody know that role. But afterwards, you were trying to say to me, well, yeah, you're American, but, you know, we're going to treat you a little different than all Americans. You're American, but sit in the back of the bus. You're American, but you don't drink at my water fountain. You're American, but your tax dollars won't get spent in your community like it gets spent in my community. All that's based on race. And that's what critical race theory is talking about. It's talking about how race continued to play a role in major decisions.
Okay.
I was going to wear, before I recognize the historical moment of today, my shirt about Black Wall Street. And is it Tulsa, Oklahoma, right?
Right.
It's Tulsa, right? But every city had one of those. Tampa had one. It was called Central Park Village. It was called Central Park Avenue. I'm sorry. Avenue. Hotels.
Memphis, Beale Street.
Restaurant, all that stuff. And most of those were shut down or bought out by the federal government. Most of them were bought out, federal government. You go look at it and see, federal government was the main impetus in coming and putting money into redeveloping those areas. And you say, well, what do you mean bought them out? Well, grandma bought the house for $1,500.
Right.
Somebody shows up and says, well, grandma, we'll give you $20,000. It's sold.
It's sold.
I'm on a committee. We just bought a lot in East Tampa. And I guess I can go public. I think it's public. It was announced there. $120,000. 1 square lot, vacant. $120,000. Daryl, I bought my first house in Carrollwood.
Wow.
20 years ago, and I didn't pay $100,000 with a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house on that property. This is an empty lot.
Oh my God!
East
Tampa.
This is what government money can do. So the government bought out those things. Is that connected to critical race theory? The lack of appreciation for the value of those communities? And so critical race theory forces white America to relook at how race has played so many roles in what it does.
But listen, it was never brought up. It hadn't been taught.
You know why? Because it feels bad.
But the only teaching that we're really hearing about it is through you.
Listen, what family talks about grandpa's alcoholism and how it almost ruined the family? Nobody.
Okay.
That's what it's a bad. It makes white America feel bad.
Feel bad.
Because they know it was wrong. And I want to say this to my white brothers and light skinned cousins.
It just sounds so crazy that our governor would pass a law about how people feel.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Oh, why? You know why?
Why?
Because that dictates what people do.
I
tell you, you know how we win cases in court?
How?
Make people feel like my client's the one that needs justice.
In my mind, he passed a law that only favors one race.
Absolutely. The majority. And that is a flaw in democracy.
No, the minority.
Yes, drifting to be soon to be. Right, exactly. So we take that. So critical race theory is a way of looking at modern society and saying, how did racism, and inequity play a role in this? Why are these people living in this part of town and these people living in another part of town?
And so bring it all forward to Juneteenth.
So Juneteenth though is interesting because we go celebrate the great moment that our folks had this great leap forward in their own freedom and dominion of themselves. But to white America, it's a reminder of how horrible they treated people. It's a reminder. And I think we've got to figure out a way that everybody celebrates. See, and this is kind of like 4th of July. We celebrate 4th of July as a great day of independence. But black folks sit around and go, man, I wasn't free. I'm going to cook this barbecue up and we're going to throw some music on. But you know what?
Right.
I wasn't free.
I wasn't free.
Juneteenth is reversed. We're blowing it out for Juneteenth. Yeah, man, that's the day it really happened. And white America's sitting there going, yeah, it was, I'm glad for y'all. And we've got to figure out a way.
I don't even think they saying that.
Well, it happened off work. We got to figure out a way, though, that we get them to say, listen, recognize it as a great triumph, because it doesn't happen if white Americans of good moral character doesn't step forward and sacrifice to make it happen. It didn't happen because of the greatness of just only black folks. We were subjugated at a point in time, and white America really, really led that fight to make that happen. And I would say we've got to figure out a way that everybody feels good about celebrating that moment. And critical race theory, I think, can do that. One, we got to be comfortable being honest about it.
Okay. Do you think CRT should be, critical race theory, should be discussed during our Juneteenth celebration?
It has to be. That's the risk. It has to be, or you risk repeating some of the problems we had in the past. If you don't help people understand
what problems did we have in the past.
Okay, well, the problem we still have right now.
Okay,
the inequity of opportunities as an American, the battle I must put forward to fight for basic rights and opportunities that other folks are privileged with just because they showed up. You know, I think one time you were talking to me about something, and I don't know how it works, but it's where in the black community, you're apt to be stopped and put in jail any minute for a very minuscule amount of marijuana, have something critical on your record, and so on and so forth. And you go to other communities where everybody's driving by their doctor, getting their card to have marijuana.
Right.
And so they get stopped. There's no issue, sir. Thank you very much. And they move on. Same smoke coming out the car, same effect from the drug or whatever it may be. And so that's subtleties in sentencing. And when you go look at situations like college campuses that are not HBCUs, and you look at the lack of minorities, the lack of them, and then you go to a prison or any kind of criminal institution, and it's a sea of darkness.
Yeah.
Just faces, brown and dark faces everywhere. You want to go back and say, okay, let's take a look at what are the laws leading these people to do this, then what are the circumstances leading them to violate those laws? Because if you don't feed somebody, eventually they're going to take some food. Eventually. You don't give them opportunity, they will create their own opportunity. The black market is always open and active.
So one of our listeners is saying that white fragility is real. Critical race theory forces whites to take ownership in the subjugation of blacks. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. But guess what?
What?
It's not the current whites.
Thank you, Henry Bell.
You know what I mean?
It's not the current whites.
It's not, and that's what they have to be able to say.
You saying it's the old folks.
Yeah, let me say this. Green Parrish Jr. was a wild dude. That's my dad.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking, he's a wild
okay,
he was a wild dude. He's a wild dude, man. Always kept a loaded gun in his pocket and his car.
Wow.
Babes all over town. Cussing, snorting, shooting, slapping, wherever he walked in. I mean, just dude was out of. I mean, my memory of him is out of. I'm like, this guy just it was like it was like a wall pushing through water. Just incredible, you know.
But
right.
he did a good job of raising his family. I know that.
I would say the best thing he did is I got away from him. Let me say that. Stop it, Carl. Don't send me any messages about that. Best thing I did is got away from the dude.
Okay.
Right. But I don't own what he did.
Right.
I don't own that.
Right.
I don't have to account for it. I have to explain it.
Don't.
I don't have to apologize for it. I laugh my butt off at it.
Yeah.
You know, I got a picture of him. I think he's standing outside the church. First thing he does, pull out his gun. I think I have a picture where he doesn't have a gun out.
Oh.
I'm not saying he owned him, the gun out. So I think what white America has to do is say, I'm not responsible for what generations ago happened. But you are responsible for what happened 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And if you're still steering things in such a way and making decisions. If you're a white realtor and somebody calls you and says, I'm moving to Tampa, I'd like to look at some houses, and you bring them only to East Tampa, and they say, well, what about this area called Wesley Chapel or Riverview or some other place?
Or South Tampa.
You wouldn't like living there.
Harbor Island.
You wouldn't enjoy living there.
Right.
You need
Keystone.
Right. You need to analyze, why are you doing that? That's critical race theory.
That's critical race theory.
That's how it comes forward into today's functionality. Right. If you're a bank at the bank and you're giving out loans, you need to think about why it is you're cutting off the loans at 640 credit score, when really that's really no different than 600. And if you dropped it to 600, you make a lot of other people much more able to.
Homeowners and part of the American process.
That's a whole nother dynamic. So that's critical race theory. So Bezel is doing a great job working the board. See how smooth he is, get the music going.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm gonna be real nice and let him take us out.
Please.
We're gonna take this quick break. Come back, y'all. I know y'all tuned in for some politics. I got it for you. In-Text News Radio, reality radio, where everybody can be a star. We'll be right back.
Right back.
Jazz at Miss Connie's House is brought to you by Ray Williams Funeral Home, providing the highest quality, professional, and caring service for your family. Call Jeffrey Rhodes at 813-253-3419. That's 813-253-3419. Or visit him at 301 North Howard Avenue, Tampa, Florida. Ray Williams Funeral Home, for the finest care and quality service.
You've been injured, you deserve help from an attorney that knows how to handle your injury claim. This is Attorney Clinton Paris from the Law Office of Clinton Paris. For over a decade, I worked for insurance companies, and now I use that knowledge and experience to help people that have been injured. For a free consultation, call me, Attorney Clinton Paris, at 813-413-7924. That's 813-413-7924, or at parislawoffice.com. At the Law Office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being hurt. Offices, Riverview.
Give me a little more myself, Pat.
All that.
Yeah.
Mary. Clap.
All right, we're back live. Listen, I feel like I'm on a movie set around here. I mean,
Why you feel like that?
Production operation over there.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate that. Got a lot of moving parts, man. I'm trying to do it all, man. So we're back live on In-Text News Radio, reality radio, where everybody can be a star. Got DJ CEO sitting in with me, doing a great job listening to me. Ramble on about some stuff.
I told you.
We opened the show, congratulating the Tampa Alumni Chapter on its anniversary, June 11th, 1928. Founded. Dr. S.E. Johnson led the way, getting that letter to Nationals, and we've just been rocking and rolling ever since then. Talked a little bit about critical race theory, because I had a caller last week sending a question on Facebook, and I didn't get to it, so wanted to touch on that. But let's talk some politics now, if you don't mind, DJ CEO. We finally had the January 6th committee do presentations to the community and have its hearings. And it was interesting that they held the hearing during prime time. Came on prime time at night. I think started at about 7 o'clock. Went for a couple hours.
Yeah. It's 8 o'clock. The news had to introduce it. All the news outlets had to introduce it first.
The first thing I thought about was coverage, and I always look at how things get covered. So MSNBC, CNN covered it all the way. I don't know about CBS.
C-SPAN.
C-SPAN, they covered all of it. I thought it was interesting that Fox News did not cover it at all, and had what I call counter programming. And in fact, they didn't even run any commercials.
I almost think it should be against the law, what Fox News is doing. But that's
well, I mean, and the question becomes, they call themselves news. That's the part that I struggle with.
That's the part
because
absolutely.
we in America are conditioned to trusting certain things.
Absolutely.
When the news comes on and a guy walks up and starts doing weather, I think he's a weatherman.
Correct.
Because he's on the news today. When they give me traffic, I think that person's doing. So it's misleading to say your news when your goal is not to inform, but your goal is to persuade and sway.
Misinform.
Right. But your goal is to. I want your, and I'm not going to say misinform, that's part of it, but it's kind of, I want you to think what I want you to think.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to structure what I present to you to achieve that.
Mm.
And it's very manipulative, very much so, and I think it's a disservice to America. I think under our Constitution, there isn't a lot you can do about that. But Daryl, in a family, the family rises and falls based on the moral values of those leading the family. If the leadership in a family has strong values and morals, then the family will have strong values and morals.
A good foundation.
Absolutely. If you don't, it's real tough for those people to exist.
A lot of cracks in it.
Same thing from a country. And so when your news people are not guiding people objectively, here's the information, you make your own call. I think that's the part that bothered me about it. And so I tell you, I watch a lot of Fox News.
Okay.
Newsmax. I watch a lot of conservative news because I'm listening to hear what it is you're trying to do, and that tells me what's really going on. Like canceling your commercials.
So they're not being a part of the January 6th broadcast says what to you about Fox News?
One, that they're more focused on achieving the message that they want you to have than you getting the information that you need.
Got it.
I just want you to believe what I want you to believe. Whether I'm right or wrong, or it's accurate or true or correct, I'm not even talking about that.
And so back in the day when the president took the podium, or when Congress took the podium, and it was being broadcast, it was always broadcast on all of them: ABC, CBS, NBC. Now, my question to you is, and Fox News owns a lot of those affiliates, and so my question is, did those affiliates across the country carry the broadcast?
No.
None of the Fox News affiliates carried the broadcast. So you have to wonder what happened to the relationship between the media and I don't want to say Congress. What would be a better word? Not politics, but what happened to that relationship that they had? That it had to be aired so that the American people could be informed.
So there was always a kind of gentleman's agreement and understanding that when the president comes on and talks, we're going to show respect to the president and our
deference,
and we're going to run what you have to say.
And
then after that, they started having response commentary.
Right.
Initially, it was just president say what to say.
Yeah.
The news people talk. But let's go back to where Fox comes from. There was an opinion, if you go back to probably after Nixon, that Nixon got a raw deal from the media. Because if you think about Watergate, it was very media driven. It wasn't a congressional investigation that launched it. It was a newspaper investigation that blew the top off Watergate. And they thought they did that because they didn't like Nixon and they were just out to get him, and that the newspaper was in with the Democrats. And that starts it. So you fast forward a president or two, by the time we get to Reagan, Reagan is railing against the liberal media. ABC, NBC, CBS, you're all just liberal talking heads for the Democrats. So Fox News comes on initially as a vehicle for giving out a Republican message. If you think about it in terms, that's why Fox was created.
So did the Murdochs own Fox back then?
I think so. Because they pulled it all, slowly they bought up all the affiliates, slowly they built out the network with some very
because it wasn't Fox News.
Right, it was Fox.
It
was Fox.
It was Fox.
It was Fox. But on the other side of it, you had Clear Channel garnering up the stations that could ultimately be congealed together to create this entity. But just think of the idea: Fox News is there to put out a Republican message.
Okay.
If you say that, well, because their position is, well, CNN is just putting out a Democratic, version of the news, and ABC and CBS. So they think it's, hey, we are equal programming.
I thought CNN was a more balanced approach, and MSNBC was more left leaning, and of course Fox is more right leaning, with CNN in the middle.
I will agree. Most of the media is left leaning. Most of it.
Right.
Most of what you get on CNN, Don Lemon crying all the time, and Carl, whatever his name do. I mean, it's just too much, man. It's too much. Every night talking about his mama tucking him in at night and stuff. Like, you're grown, man. Every
Come
night
on,
I gotta
man.
call my mama.
We don't really want to hear that.
He and what's the other one? Is it Carter or
Tucker?
No. Anderson Cooper.
Talking
about their adopted babies and husbands, and he's pretty liberal over there, and I get that. And so I get Fox News as a result of.
We need some stronger brothers in the media.
They ran him out of there, man.
Yeah. I mean, what's up with that?
They ran him out of there, man. Guys packed up and left, man. Have you been to CNN headquarters?
No, I hadn't.
You go up in there, man. You
Jesus, come on, man. Guys with fingernail polish.
Yeah, man. You don't want it.
Jesus,
so, but be that as it may,
all right.
I think so. January 6th. So that was the first thing I looked at. The second thing I thought is, what are you going to tell me new? I like the idea that Liz Cheney was leading the presentation.
Absolutely.
She did a phenomenal job.
She did. But I got to admit, I did like Benny Thompson's opening statement.
Yeah. So I thought they made they made the presentation for how big this is. But here's what I'm listening for.
Okay.
What is it you want to do about it? I don't know.
Well,
what do you want to do about
it? I don't know if they're going to no. They said it. I mean, they've got 7 things that they're going to show, that they're going to prove. And in those 7, previews is not the right word, but in those 7 charges or allegations, they're going to prove how Donald Trump and those that were associated with him conspired to overthrow the election process or the electoral college process. And I think that at the end of that, they will present to the American people, here's what we think and here's what you can do with this. But the real message should be coming from our DOJ. What's his name? Merrick Garland. I think he's the weakest guy in the world.
Look. In some situations, you gotta have to. You like in hockey. Everybody on the bench used to have an enforcer.
Yeah. Why?
Because the other team had an enforcer. You have to on the world stage. I'm sorry, you got to be tough. For example, I remember watching a show about the British Falklands, war, and there's a moment where a battleship has a very small other battleship from Grenada, I think it is, or whatever it is, in its sights. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, we don't know what to do. What should we do? The captain goes, let's call back to England. And they show Margaret Thatcher. She's putting on makeup. She's getting ready to go to the theater. And she goes, man, it's leader of the military calling where the Navy. He goes, what does he want? She goes, put him on the phone. He puts him on the phone. He goes, man, we have this ship in our sights. What should she do? And they show her putting on makeup, and she goes, shoot him. And then she just hangs up the phone. And just keep going. And the guy on the other end
didn't blink.
And the guy on the other end is like looking at the phone, and he goes, what'd she say? And he goes, she said, shoot him. He goes, she said, shoot him. And then the other guy then calls down to the turret, and the guy's got him in his sights. He's looking, and the guy goes, what'd they say? And he goes, they said shoot him. And the guy goes, shoot him? Yeah, shoot him. And they boom, and they blew it out the water. And then they switch back to her, and she's at the theater watching. Okay. It's a tough position. You got to make tough calls, and he is not running being tough.
He needs to knock somebody in the mouth, and I'm just so. But here's the other thing. To me, the other thing is Joe Biden should have replaced him by now.
Right.
We talk about how weak Merrick Garland is, but the truth of the matter is, it's showing some weakness of Joe Biden. You know, Joe, I understand you giving him some space, but if he hadn't done anything by the end of the summer, he should be gone, and we should have somebody in there that can come in there and do it.
Right. You have to show. For example, I would say that the when I was assistant city attorney, the mayor would say, "I don't give away citizens' money. I leave that to juries. So you take that case to trial."
Wow.
I don't give out citizens.
Which mayor was that?
Pamela Oreo.
Okay.
I don't give away citizens. I don't give away my citizens, taxpayers' money.
Okay.
You let the jury give it away. If they're gonna give it away, let the jury give it away.
do it.
Let the jury give it away. So there is some toughness that need to be in there. I thought, did you see anything that you came away with any new feelings though, as relates to the hearing about January 6th?
I mean, not really, because we already knew what's his daughter's name, Ivanka. And her husband were going to play it safe. And by playing it safe, they weren't going to go against either side.
Yeah.
So other than that, no. Did you?
I the level of impact Trump had on everybody else about something that was fake when they all knew it was true. Surprises me. We'll come back and talk about that a little bit more. This is In Touch News Radio, reality radio, where everybody can be a star.
St. Petersburg, Florida, get ready. DAT Entertainment LLC presents A Night to Remember, Saturday, June the 4th at 7 p.m. at the Florida National Guard Armory, 3601 38th Avenue South, St. Petersburg, Florida, 33711. And this will be a show you won't forget, featuring the Manhattans with Gerald Austin.
I had to meet you here today. Told the fellas I'm not going out tonight.
Award-winning comedian Chris the Mayor Thomas.
I saw this little white girl the other day. She said, "You have some big lips. I wish I had lips like yours." I said, "Bitch, hold still."
An R&B soul singer, A. Renee.
At the casino. Let's go back to the way things used to be.
Advance admission $60. Door price is $75. VIP $90. And this is a BYOB affair. You can also reserve tickets now at Eventbrite. For ticket information, contact JT the Dancing DJ at 813-412-0435. And for more info, call 727-486-3702. DAT Entertainment LLC presents A Night to Remember, Saturday, June the 4th, with a Manhattan featuring Gerald Austin.
Hello, Tampa Bay. This is Ainsley Doe with Florida Realty Unlimited. As a broker with 15 years experience and a veteran of the Navy, I do understand your needs. Real estate prices are up. So if you're thinking of selling your home, call me for a free market analysis. If you're planning to buy a home, please call me for a free buyer's consultation. For more information, call Ainsley Doe at 813-546-1954. Once again, the number is 813-546-1954. Or check my ad out in the In Touch News.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
All right. So we were just talking about so we're trying to walk through this hearing. So I'm trying to figure out what is it they're trying to tell me that I don't know. And I'll tell you the one thing I wasn't aware of how many people were telling Donald Trump in his inner circle, like Barr, Ivanka, Jared. You just go down the list. Hey, there is no fraud here. There is no fraud here. I didn't realize the magnitude of that going on. And now what you're seeing is him in his mind understanding the pressure on Congress if we put thousands of people on the steps outside. And so he was rallying those people that day with the expectation that the Congress would yield or slow down or stop, or even Pence. Really the guy they were targeting was Pence.
Right.
And I thought Pence was the guy in all of this, and still today. If Pence comes forward and says, listen, all this came from the president. Because they're trying to make sure Trump doesn't run in
24.
I don't mind Trump running 24. Because right now, a potato chip will beat Joe Biden. Unless he gets my gas prices down. A potato chip. I'm going to tell you, I went to the store the other day to get my usual snack. My usual snacks, plantain chips.
Okay.
And a Georgia peach Lipton iced tea.
How much was it?
$5.19.
How much is it normally?
It's usually $3.15.
Wow.
I mean, I literally was just standing there now. Okay, Samantha, no, I'm on a low carb diet. So I hadn't gotten it in probably about 2 or 3 months. I'm on my low carb diet. But I was rewarding myself. Man, I'd gone to court, and I'm going to take the last little bit of our show to talk about what happened in court. But I'd gone to court, Bezel, and had a great day. An exceptional for what I get to do.
Okay.
Great day. And I was rewarding myself with my plantain chips. I usually throw half the bag away to cut the carbs down. I don't eat the whole bag. I take a nice, healthy handful, and I throw them in the trash. So that I'm only eating half of what I would have normally, because really
he tripping. Yeah, he tripping.
I do that with M&M's too. I buy a bag of M&M's. I throw half the bag away.
Right. Or at least pull to the traffic light. Pull to the traffic light. Take that half a bag and give it to the guy that's out there begging.
Man,
you know what I mean?
That guy, come on. You get that guy food, he throw it away. He ain't no money. That cat wants cash dollars. So January 6th, though, I was looking and it was a compelling storyline. And now I think they need to walk through the various dynamics of it that concern regular Americans. But here's what the test is in all of this. The test is, how committed are we to democracy? How committed are we to democracy?
Well, we don't really know because we don't know anything else.
I think we do know. I'm going to tell you how we know.
All right, how do we know?
We know because of what happened with Jim Crow. We know because repeatedly we've done things in America that's been undemocratic. It's only been done because we had people in power that were unwilling to adhere to the principles of democracy. Democracy is a very inefficient means of government. It's very inefficient. Imagine in the car. You got to get everybody's opinion whether I take this right turn. Everybody in or not. Right. Do we go straight? Everybody? Okay, we're going straight then. We're going to keep going until everybody agree. It's a very inefficient, but ultimately it keeps the peace. Because you can just, all right, 4 years, I got another shot at this.
It has more equality in wrapped around.
It has more of an opportunity to achieve what you're trying to, because you get to do it over again.
Yeah.
If we only have kings, I got to wait till the king die. And if it's England, she's been on the throne now 70 years.
I know it.
So you got to wait, poor Charles. I mean, he may never get up there.
That's the king doesn't really, and queen, they don't run anything. I'm just saying,
though, if you use that system,
okay.
When do I get a chance to redo the government? We do it every 4 years. We do some of it every 2 years. So I'm not going to panic if I lose an election. You know why? I got another shot in 4 years.
Well, if this country slowly fades into authoritarianism, they'll get the opportunity to see if they like it or not. The problem is that if it goes there, you won't be able to get democracy back.
Listen, somebody just sent me a message saying, your green parish would kick your butt if you said you threw away some food. Listen, let me tell you what my daddy did. We'd all sit at the table, and you sit down and you eat Bezel. Everybody's sitting there, and you eat whatever you eat, and it's solid food. And when you finished, you would look at my dad and you would say, "I enjoyed my supper," and he'd look at you and say, "I'm glad you did." And that was permission to leave the table.
Wow.
If you didn't get back, "I'm glad you did," you had to remain seated. And the next guy over might, so the little kids down. The little kids will wait for the big kids to leave, because you had to eat everything on there.
Yeah.
All that onion and okra.
All that
tomatoes and rice.
Right.
Ooh, all them chicken feet. Oh, you had to eat all the hog. You had to eat all of it.
My dad, my daddy used to say, take all you want, but eat all you take.
Yeah. Now, thankfully, I was a younger kid, Bezel. So all I had to do was slide that over to one of my brothers. They were waiting.
They finish it off. Yeah,
oh,
they wait.
Yeah, they gonna take care of that for you. You know. So somebody just been messing up. But I do that because I know me and I have.
Okay.
But I'm just saying that if Biden doesn't do something about these prices, it doesn't matter if Trump wins or not.
So I got a message that America is not truly a democracy. It's become more of a republic. What's your thoughts on that? And what is the difference?
Okay, so democracy really is so we have a representative republic, really.
A representative republic.
Meaning we elect someone to represent us.
Okay, and a democracy is what?
Democracy, where the will of the people, you don't have a layer in the middle. It's majority rule.
Oh,
whatever the majority says is what happens.
Okay,
but that's not how.
That's
America,
not
how America works. And also, majorities also can be invariably wrong, repeatedly.
Right.
Wrong. So, but be that as it may, though, but most Americans, I'm gonna tell you, they have no clue how their country works. Most people were shocked. Wait a minute, he's not president unless Pence certifies the election. But I voted 2 months ago. What do you mean?
What do you mean?
People are confused by that.
Right. Well, actually, I think the whole country, even some of the scholars were like, "Wait a minute, what's going on?" You'd be surprised. I would say a whole lot of people did not know that the election had to be certified by Congress.
All right, so Darryl,
or the vice president.
We got a couple minutes left. I want to talk about a case I had this week where I had to evict a young man from where he lived. I had to put him out, and I tried hard not to.
Okay.
I called him on the phone and said, "Listen, my client will pay you to leave." And my client's out of the country, so he's
okay.
I think he left on purpose to do this. But so anyway, young black guy, he's upset with the landlord, hadn't been felt like treated right. We get down there, Darryl. I talked to him the day before. Hey, man, don't listen. Let me.
Why was he being evicted?
The guy just wants his place back.
Oh, so it wasn't for non-payment.
Not for non-payment.
Okay.
Lease is over.
Okay.
Time to get it. The guy wants to remodel it. And do
okay.
All that. So I get there, and the young black guy, 27, 28. He lives there with his girlfriend, couple kids. And I said, listen, this is not personal to you. He just wants his place back. No, I've been living there, and I've done work there, and I've done this, and I've done that, and stuff, and, X, Y, Z. So I said, but look, it's his place.
It's his place.
So I'm going to talk to the judge and tell the judge. Storyline, here it is. Young black kid, grew up in Robles Park, welfare, other siblings, killed before he was 19, 20. Teacher enrolls him at HCC. He gets an AA degree, becomes a lab technician, doing blood samples, but during COVID, they just converted over to something else.
Okay.
So he's now getting certified in COVID testing, to do that kind of testing. Did 1 year at USF before he got a girl pregnant, dropped out of school. He, girlfriend, 3 kids living there in the place.
Last mile scholarship.
And there you go. So he says, I said, look, man, but the judge has to give him his place. And that kid sat there and said to me, Darryl, just ripped through my heart. He said, I just can't seem to figure out life. And he he started to cry.
Wow.
I said,
he represents a lot of people out there.
And exactly what I thought. And I said, you are figuring it out. It's just not all in one moment. So we go in the court. This before we went in the courtroom. So we talking outside. So we go into the courtroom. Now he had with him his AA degree. He had with him a job offer for when he gets this COVID certification with him. And so the judge, judge lets him do his whole story about all,
Right.
When the judge finished, I just said, Judge, my client just wants his place. He said, well, Mr. Paris, you need to figure out something.
Wow, man, the judge
put it on you. He said, I'm not going to put another brick in this young man's bag to drag around behind him with an eviction on his record.
Wow.
And I said, you're right, Judge. We're going to figure out something. And we figured out something. I won't say what it is.
That's a good judge.
Hey.
Okay.
Good judge.
That's a good judge. Because a lot of people would have dropped the gavel on that young brother.
He just looked at me. And I had that happen in reverse before, probably about 6 months ago, where there was a whole phony case, and the judge was like, so what? I'm kicking him out.
Wow. Who was that judge? Okay.
Yeah, but
Write
anyway,
his name down.
her, and I told her, I'll see you at the election. But this judge, and I did figure out something with the young man.
Okay.
I did. But bigger than that, I said, listen, we get this behind us, get this place. We're going to dismiss the eviction. So that's down on his record.
Good.
He's going to leave.
Okay.
And we're going to dismiss the eviction so that it doesn't hamper him going forward. But I said, but bigger than that, when we get this finished, me and you got some work to do. All right? Me and you going to work on some stuff. Because he is the epitome of what we don't want to lose.
Right.
And I mean, it's really it just was a moving moment for me. Bezel, I apologize for taking up all your time. DJ CEO, thank you for sitting there with me. Pete's supposed to be back next week, y'all. He getting a little physical therapy.
Good.
He'll be back up
good.
on his feet and rolling along and shuffling, whatever he's going to do.
Pete got about 3 or 4 female masseuses over there rubbing all over.
I tried to get him to roll me today. He was like, nah, man, I'm in the house. So, In Touch News Radio, reality radio, everybody can be a star. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Dal, for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We'll be back next week, y'all.
Peace.